This is lesson 38, and we'll be naming key signatures.
Returning to J. Albrecht's Ready to Read Music, we're on Unit 3, which is our pitch unit, Lesson 7, Naming Key Signatures. The flats or sharps in a key signature follow a pattern. Okay, so before we go on, J. Albrecht doesn't actually get into this, but I shared this in our last lesson, that the order of sharps in a key signature is easily remembered by the saying, Father Charles goes down and ends battle. If a key signature has one sharp, it will be just an F, Father. If it has two sharps, it will be an F and a C, Father Charles. If it has three sharps, it will be F, C, and G, Father Charles goes. If it has four sharps, it would be Father Charles goes down, F, C, G, and D. And those would be the only four sharps in the key signature. You'll never have a key signature with three sharps that has an A sharp and an E sharp and a B sharp. It just won't happen. You always start from F. The only time you would ever have a B sharp in the key signature is if you have a key signature with 7 sharps, which is the maximum amount of sharps. Here's the pattern for sharp key signatures. So he says that the first sharp is on F sharp, and notice we have an F sharp in both the treble and bass clefs because this is a grand staff. So the treble and bass clefs would be played simultaneously. Second sharp would be on C sharp, so notice we now have an F sharp and a C sharp, Father Charles, Father Charles. Third sharp is on G, so we have Father Charles goes, Father Charles goes. And the fourth sharp is on D, Father Charles goes down, Father Charles goes down. He's giving us additional information here. He says the key of G, the key of D, the key of A, the key of E. We will talk about that in 1 second. Here's the pattern for flat key signatures. So if you remember from last lesson, I said that the lovely thing about the saying, Father Charles goes down and ends battle, as a way to remember the order of sharps, is that if we reverse it, it's the order of flats. So the order of flats is just the sharps in reverse. Battle ends, and down goes Charles's father. If the key signature has just one flat, we can know for sure it's going to be a B flat, battle. If it has two flats, it will be battle ends, so B and E flat. If it has three flats, B, E, and A, battle ends and. If it has four flats, battle ends and down, B, E, A, and D flat, etc. Here's the pattern for flat key signatures. First flat would be on B flat, so battle. B flat in both treble and bass clef, because the treble and bass clef lines will both be played simultaneously because this is a grand staff. Second flat would be on E flat. So if you have two flats at a key signature, you'll have a B flat and then an E flat. B flat, E flat, battle ends. Third flat on A, B flat, E flat, A flat, battle ends and. Fourth flat on D, battle ends and down, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. And remember that these key signatures, if they're at the beginning of a staff, will mean that any time you have one of these notes that are represented in the key signature on that staff, they will be affected by the key signature. So in this case, if you have a B anywhere on the staff, it would actually be a B flat. And if you have an E anywhere on the staff, it would actually be an E flat, etc. And again, he gives us additional information. He says key of F, key of B flat, key of E flat, key of A flat. We'll talk about that in a second. There can be as many as 7 flats or sharps in a key signature. And remember that in a key signature, we'll only have sharps or flats. You'll never see both together in a key signature. But you'll rarely see more than 4. For this book, we'll use no more than 4. I would say that's very dependent on what kind of music you're playing, and even in some church music, we sometimes have up to 6 sharps. Not frequently to see 7, but I think it's good to understand any key signature since they're all possible. Every key signature is named after a note and every note has a key signature, meaning our musical alphabet consists of 7 letter names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We could have a key of F. We could have a key of G. We could have a key of D. We can also have a key of C flat, C, or C sharp. So every single letter name and its flat or sharp has a key name associated with it. A piece of music is said to be in the key of G or the key of B flat and so forth. We've labeled the key signature names for the 8 keys shown above. Here's how to identify key signatures. So here's how to know it, what key you're in. Y is 1 flat, the key of F. Y are 2 flats, the key of B flat. So he gives us a little cheat sheet here. For sharp key signatures, find the last sharp in the key signature, then count up to the next line or space. That note is the name of the key signature. He says we take the last sharp in the key signature, so in this case it's an F sharp, and then we go up to the very next line or space, so in this case it would be to a G. So that's why this is the key of G. Let's try it on the next one. So he says in a sharp key, if we take the last sharp, which in this case is a C sharp, we should be able to just go up to the very next line or space. In this case, it would be a D, and that's our key name. So look at the next one. We take the last sharp in this key signature, which is a G sharp, and we go up to our very next line or space. In this case, it would be to a ledger line, and it's the key of A. And lastly, we take the last sharp in a sharp key signature. This is a D sharp, and we go up to the very next line or space. It would be an E, and this is the key of E. For flat key signatures, find the last flat in the key signature. Think of this as 4, then count down the lines and spaces of the staff to 1. The note on 1 is the name for the key signature. All right, so for his method, we take the last flat, so in this case, a B flat, we count that as 4. So this is 4, we count down 3, 2, 1, and we end up on an F. So this would be the key of F. Let's look at the next one. So we take the last flat, which is an E flat. We count that as 4, and when we count backwards, 4, 3, 2, 1. We end up on a B, and because that B is in the key signature, we have a B flat right here. We do not just say this is the key of B. We say it's the key of B flat. So that B is affected by its own key signature. Okay, the next one, our last flat is an A flat. We count that as 4, 4, count down 3, 2, 1. We end up on an E. Again, because the E is flat in the key signature, battle ends, and B flat, E flat, A flat. We need to make sure we include that in the key name, so it's the key of E flat. And our final one, we have a D flat as our last flat. We count that as 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we end up on an A. Again, the A is in the key signature as a flat. Battle ends and down. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. So we have to make sure our key name reflects that. This would be the key of A flat. What if a piece of music has no key signature, no sharps or flats after the clef sign? Music with no key signature is the key of C. So C is the only key with absolutely no sharps or flats in the key signature. Identify the following key signatures. Write the correct name of each key signature on the line provided. Our first example is a sharp key signature. Remember, the rule for sharp key signatures is that we find the last sharp, so in this case C sharp, and then we go up to the very next line or space. So in this case, we go up to this line. If we put a note there, it's a D. So we are in the key of D. And I'm going to just tell you this information. Don't worry if we don't understand this right now, but it's the key of D major because there are also minor keys. In this case, this could also be B minor. We're not going to worry about that right now. For our purposes, most music we play at church is in major keys. Not everything, but most songs that we're playing in church are in major keys. So this suffices at our basic level of understanding to call it the key of D. If you want to know more about how keys work, that is really a theory concept. So that's the avenue you would pursue next if you're interested in understanding more about this. Number 2, we have a flat key. Remember, for flat keys, we find the last flat. So in this case, it's an A flat. And counting that as 1, we go down 4 lines and spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on E. But because of the key signature, it's going to be an E flat. So we're in the key of E flat. And I'm going to say in the key of E flat major. Next, we have no sharps and no flats. So we are in the key of C major. Number 4, we have a sharp key signature again. So we look at the last sharp. It's a G sharp. And we go up to the next line or space note. So in this case, it would be a ledger line note. This is an A. So this would be the key of A major. And then we have another flat key signature. I'm finding the last flat, and it is a D flat. So we're going to count that as 1 and go down by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We end up on an A flat, and it's an A flat because of the key signature. So it's the key of A flat major. Lastly, we have an F sharp. We're in a sharp key again, just an F sharp, father. Okay, and we just want to step up to the next space. In this case, it's also a G. So key of G major. In the box, write the correct sharps for the following sharp key signatures. So we know we're in a sharp key signature, and we know that the key name is G. So we can just reverse the rule we learned in that if our key name is a G, we just need to step down to the line or space just below this note, and that will be our last sharp. In this case, it will be an F sharp, and since F is our first sharp, that means it's our only sharp in this case. There's nothing that comes before that. So the key of G has just an F sharp, and this is where we place the F sharp. All right, then we have key of A. We also know this is a sharp key signature, so again, let's think through. Here's our A, and we need to now step down to the closest space or line to find our final sharp. In this case, we'd end up on a G, so a G sharp. So let's make sure we know how many sharps we're actually going to need to draw. Father Charles goes. That'll be our last sharp. So it's 3 sharps. In bass clef, we draw our F sharp here, F sharp, C sharp, and then a G sharp. Father Charles goes. In the box, write the correct flats for the following flat key signatures. So we're just going to reverse the rule we learned. We're going to start on the B flat, and we're going to have to climb up. So B flat will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And we end up on an E. Since we're in a flat key signature, we know that that must be an E flat. That'll be our last flat. And so we must need a B flat and an E flat in our key signature. Battle ends. And in bass clef, our B flat goes here and our E flat goes here. Then we have the key of F. So again, we'll find our starting note. We can put that right here, and we're just going to count up. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. And we know we're in a flat key signature, so if B is our last flat, then we must just have a B flat, battle, and we put that right here in the treble clef.